We're here, this is it, the Ford Focus.
48 hours of non-stop graft with a few positives.
It's actually been quite nice.
And of course, some negatives.
This isn't so good.
So come along for the ride as I spend a weekend repairing, bodging and just generally grafting on this car to try and get it ready to be photographed for sale on Monday. We will see how far we get. Hopefully there won't be any hiccups. I'm sure there will be. Stay tuned. There's plenty to be getting on with. So let's get into it.
God, I'm funny. Let's see if we can get this car ready for sale, hopefully by, well, it's Saturday now, so tomorrow. First test. Let's see if it starts, because it has been sat for a little while. It's a good start. We're in. But just because we're in does not mean that it's going to start. We have light and a stereo. Tune. Begin. That began. So far, so good. So let's see if it moves. It has got a flat tyre. Brakes are a bit sticky. Oh, yep, there's the flat tyre. I don't really care about driving on this flat tyre because I'm not really planning on keeping these tyres. So I'm quite content with driving very slowly to the workshop with its flat tyre. If I was going to keep these wheels and tyres, obviously I wouldn't do this. Going well. Well, we made it to the workshop. That tyre's kind of flat. Yeah, that tyre is flat, as is that tyre actually, but they're only flat on the bottom, so it's not the end of the world. God, I'm funny. So I made it to the workshop. Let's get it in, let's get the stuff out of the boot. I'm going to put some air in the tyres because I still want to use the car, because I need to go and collect the wheels out of my cage, then it can stay in the workshop until it's done, I guess. So let's do that. I will say one thing, the aircon is phenomenal. God, it's good. So pretty much all the stuff that I bought for this car is in the boot. I'm going to try and get as much of the stuff out as I can now, and then I'm going to head up to my cage, grab the wheels, and I think the first job we're going to do is get these hideous wheels off the car, get those tyres fitted on the other two wheels, because two of them have already fit the tyres too, those two I didn't get a chance, and we'll get distance pads fitted on the front of the car. Then we can forget about the sort of underlying stuff on the car, the wheels, the brakes. Next I'm going to do the bodywork. We're going to get the mirror changed, we're going to get the wing changed on this side. I'm probably going to give it a bit of a clean, and then I want to try and concentrate on some of the bodywork. I'm going to get my machine polisher out. I'm going to try and get rid of some of the scuffs from at least this side of the car. I'm going to look at getting a touch-up pen to do the bumper scuffs, because they have taken the paint off completely. And then I guess it's just going to be a matter of thinking about what to do about the dents and the boot lid. I think I can get the scuffs out. I don't think they go through the paint. The dents, however, not so much. I'm not very good at bodywork. Anybody who knows me knows that bodywork isn't really my strong point. So let's see how badly I can ruin the paintwork on this car, more than it already is. I suppose you can't make something crap any worse, can you? Seems the previous owner already had a go themselves. Now, one thing that's really important with Fords, anybody who has a Ford, anything newer than I want to say like 2008, it might be a little bit older, they have steel wheel nuts with like a stainless steel cover, and the mild steel underneath the cover, after a few years, moisture gets underneath, salty roads, all that sort of thing, and it corrodes the mild steel underneath the stainless steel, and the wheel nuts swell, so you can't get a socket on them anymore. Also, those stainless covers become loose. If you use a battery gun on them, the vibrations can damage them and they fall apart. And then you end up having to use 3 different sizes of socket to remove one nut. I mean, it's supposed to be 19mm. I've had to use a 20 and an 18. 18 for when the cover's missing, 20 for when they've swelled and the cover hasn't yet broken off. So these are a solid replacement. So they're all one piece, so they're not going to swell. They're not going to get stuck. You're going to be able to, most importantly, at the side of the road, if you get a flat tyre, you can't then take it off and fit the spare wheel, because it has got a full-size spare wheel in the boot. It's no good if you can't actually get the wheel off the car in the first place. So these should solve that problem. I think every single person who owns a Ford in the UK with those style of wheel nuts should replace them for these solid types. This is one of the eBay purchases. It was missing the parcel shelf. No idea where it is, where it could have gone, but thank you very much to eBay. Cool, so that's the boot emptied, that's all the stuff sorted out. I'm going to put some air in those 2 tyres. I'm going to head over to my cage. I'm going to put the 18-inch alloy wheels in the boot, and we'll get back here, we'll get these wheels off, we'll get the tyres on those wheels fitted, and we'll get that done first. That's job number 1. Let's get it. So I'll put some air in. I have to be quite quick because my airline is a little bit sort of broken.
Pretty random, but I found this section quite satisfying, watching the car rise up.
Nice. Now that that's done, let's go to the cage, let's put the wheels in the back, and let's make a proper start. So this is it. These are the wheels. They're in pretty good condition. I've already done 2 of the tyres. I've just got 2 more to do. This one isn't in great condition. It's still somewhat legal. And this one. So we'll get them out. I'm going to go and take them for a bit of a clean over the jet wash, get the insides of them nice and clean. And then we should be on to a winner. Right, I'm at the jet wash. I've got some all-purpose cleaner and some wheel cleaner and a detailing brush, and I'm just going to give each one of the wheels a quick jet wash and a clean. The reason I've got the all-purpose cleaner is because my wheel cleaner is running out. So we'll get these cleaned up, and I'm also going to give the car a quick once over as well, just so that I'm ready for giving it a bit of a detail when the time comes. Probably not today, it's probably going to be tomorrow, because there are a lot of other jobs that I want to get done today, so then I can concentrate on the nicer jobs tomorrow, like cleaning up the interior, getting the exterior polished. Today is all about the gritty, dirty, bare jobs that need doing. So what I end up doing here is using a bit of a concoction of all-purpose cleaner and wheel cleaner, just to try and get the wheel cleaners to last longer, because as you can see from the bottle, there isn't very much left in it. The wheels weren't that bad, they're a bit grimy on the inside, but overall they cleaned up really well, to be fair. Nice, so that's the wheels done. I'm just going to give the car a quick once over with some APC, get the jet wash on it, just to get some of the grime off more than anything. We'll get the wheels loaded back up, back to the workshop, and we'll make a proper start. It's actually been quite nice. The sun's setting, it's getting a bit cooler now, and my wheels are clean. It's going well. Right, I'm going to do things in a little bit of a silly order. First, I'm going to get it jacked up. I'm going to take off the front wheels. I'm going to do the front discs and pads and let the oil drain at the same time. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can let the oil drain at the same time, because it's still warm, I've driven it, it just makes sense. Whilst that's happening, I'm going to fit the tyres, the last two that I need to fit, and then once the tyres are fitted, the oil will have drained, but first I'm going to concentrate on getting the brakes done. I'll also do the loose door seal. I'll glue that, get that stuck in place, so that's done. And again, whilst the door's open, I suppose I can be doing the wing mirror, get that done at the same time. So I'll do a few things all at once. I'm not going to do one thing at a time, which is how I should be doing it really, but in my crazy mind that just makes sense. You'll remember at the start of the video I said about the wheel nuts and the issues that the wheel nuts have with these cars. Now, I'm changing these, so I'm going to gun them off. I wouldn't be gunning them off if I wasn't changing them. Use a breaker bar to loosen these off. You can gun them off afterwards to waz them off quick, but initially you want to be making sure that you do not gun these loose, because that shock is what's breaking those fittings, the chrome covers off the wheel nuts. And yeah, it's just not good. It's just not very good practice. See, the 19's loose on this one that hasn't got the cover on it. See how an 18 is a perfect fit? Apologies for the compressor sound. It does occasionally do that sort of loud psh in the background. It's really annoying. It always makes me jump. So it'll make you jump as well. So I've got the engine oil draining. I'm just going to take the oil filter out ready. I haven't actually bought oil or a filter yet, so that'll be tomorrow's quick shopping trip. To get the oil filter out, it's taking this air intake pipe off. You can then get to the oil filter housing underneath and then take the oil filter out. So we're going to do that now. A lot of oil in that intake. That is not good. So here I'm just removing the oil filter. I'm unscrewing the oil filter housing and pulling the filter out. I'm going to explain in a second why you should leave the oil draining whilst you're doing this. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So you can just hear now there's a little bit more oil going to the sump. So you should always drain your oil and leave it draining while you take the filter out for this reason. A little bit more will drip through the oil filter housing down into the filter vacuum, so it holds the oil in the filter housing. Nice. Oil filter doesn't look too scary, which is good. So that's the oil filter housing cleaned up, ready for tomorrow. I'm just going to have to leave it on the bench for now. And remember not to start the car. So what I should probably do now that the oil's draining is finish off the front end whilst it's still up in the air. I'm going to take off the other wheel. We're going to do the brakes, disc pads on that side, and fit the tyres, and then we'll get them fitted, and then yeah, we'll get in there. So I've got the oil filter out. Didn't look too bad as we've seen. The next thing I got out was the air filter. This isn't so good. That is engine oil. And by the weight of it, quite a lot of engine oil. That's not good. I dropped that. Now what I think it might be at the moment, or at least what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take apart what's called the PCV valve. Stands for positive crankcase ventilation. What it means basically is that this engine produces like a pressure within inside it, and that pressure needs somewhere to go. Now originally on older cars, like my little Mini for instance, like my old Land Rover, that used to just be vented to atmosphere. due to emissions regulations and trying to make cars cleaner, they can't do that anymore. So they recirculate it through the engine, and they do that by having a little valve like this in the rocker cover, allowing the pressure when it reaches a certain amount. I think it's like a little rubber diaphragm in here, or like a little spring check valve type thing, that then allows the pressure to recirculate through the engine, through the intake. In this case, it goes through the intake, straight into the turbo, and then back into the engine. Now, if it's breathing heavily, or that valve is gummed up, then it will start running a little bit on oil, and it'll start pumping oil through that, and in extreme cases, that can lead to diesel runaway. So I want to get this problem sorted ASAP. The first thing I think it's going to be, and I'm hoping what it's going to be, is that. So we're going to unclip this check valve, and we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on. And to do that, we're going to need a little flathead. So the little flathead goes in between these clips here. There's one on each side and along there, and it should come loose. So let's do that. Cool. So what's inside there is this very dirty spring and this very dirty minging looking sort of check valve rubber diaphragm. That's the colour it should be. So we're going to give them a clean, give inside there a clean, put it back together, and I guess try it. Right, so I've given the PCV valve a good clean. I've given the cam cover PCV valve sort of hole a good clean out as well. And the thing I'm going to do next is get this fitted. What I also did was I measured the amount of oil which came out of the sump. There was just under 6 litres. This engine is only supposed to hold around 4 litres. So maybe that's another contributory factor. So it was overfilled with oil. It was very sort of grungy, horrible oil. The PCV valve was very grungy and horrible. So I'm hoping all of these things should mean that the problem of it having at some point breathed quite heavily will go away. That remains to be seen. So we'll get this back on. Hopefully that should be that. So I'm going to be changing the tyres round. What I'm going to be doing is reusing the tyre pressure monitoring system sensors off the old wheel, which look like that. I've already removed this one. Essentially what you need to do is unscrew the sensor once you've removed the tyre, and then pull the valve stem and the sensor screw hole out. I'm going to keep this one attached for now so don't forget about it. So to change your tyres, first thing you can do is take your valve cap off. You can unscrew the valve from the valve stem and let all the air out the tyre. Once all the air is out the tyre, set the tyre. So this bit down here called bead breaker. Quite an important rule applies with bead breaker. Don't put your leg or any other part of your body where you wouldn't put your penis. So I wouldn't put my penis between the bead breaker and the tyre. So I'm not going to put any other part of my body between the bead breaker and the tyre. There are other levers. You're going to press the lever with the picture of the bead breaker on it. It's then going to break the bead. The front and the back. Place the wheel down on the bed. Now these wheels aren't in particularly great condition, so I'm not, on the inside at least, so I'm not particularly fussed about using the jaws grabbing on the inside of the wheel. But as a sort of rule with alloy wheels, try not to do it. To adjust tyre machine arm, fits the wheel with a gap so that it doesn't scratch up the wheel when it goes round. Check that there's a sufficient gap, allowing for flex of this duct film. We haven't got any of the extra attachments to protect the wheel, so I can't be bothered taping it. What you can do if you are worried about your wheel and you haven't got attachments is you can run some sort of thick insulation tape around the inside of the wheel. Put the tool in with the hook end and push the bead on the opposite side of the tyre, push the tyre on the opposite side into the well. The well is the bit in the middle of the tyre. The bead is this outer bit. Then you're going to spin the machine round. Done. One half. I don't think. Yeah, there's no TPMS sensors on this wheel. And that's one tyre removed. Easy. Just going to grab a knife. I'm going to cut the old valve off, like that. That's going to get thinned, and then I've got here the TPMS valve stem. Some tyre soap. Anybody who's watched any of my shorts, they know all about tyre soap. Anybody who knows me knows I despise TPMS sensors. Go on the outside of the rim, why not? So you get the TPMS sensor, and I'm going to screw it back into the valve stem. I'm going to leave the valve core out for now, which I removed before. Makes it easier to refill the tyre and seat the bead onto the tyre, which I'm going to do shortly. I'm just going to clean this bead up with a drill to make sure that it's sealed. So we've got wire brush and a drill. I'm just going to spin that around the rim. You'll notice how that hasn't taken the paint off, it's just taken the rubber and the sort of grime off. This way I shouldn't have to use any bead sealer on the tyre. Get my new tyre. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check, see whether it has an inside and an outside edge. You can see that outside, so that's for sure on the face of the tyre, of the wheel. Another good way to tell is they'll put these red and yellow dots, which indicate the heaviest and the lightest part of the tyre to aid in balancing. They'll usually only put those dots on the outside facing rim for obvious reasons.
And in 3, 2, 1. Whoops.
Just make sure that the TPMS sensor is in this sort of inner bit of the wheel, where there's a gap. Spin it round so it catches. One half done. I'm going to spin it round until we get the TPMS sensor again. We're going to get our tool, and we're going to wedge the tool just past the TPMS sensor, making sure the tyre is on the duct bill, so this end is caught properly. I'm going to spin it round, and now I'm going to grab this to help keep the tyre onto the duct bill. As it goes round, keeping as much pressure on the tyre, keep it in the well as I can, like so. So I fitted. Next I'm going to release it from the tyre machine. I'm just going to sit it up like this. I'm going to get the tyre inflator and we're going to inflate the tyre to seat the bead, not going over the recommended max which is written on the sidewall, which on this tyre is do not exceed 44 psi. So when I'm inflating to seat the bead, I'm not going to inflate, I'm not going to exceed 44 psi. Should be 2 loud pops, and that's the tyre seating onto the bead of the wheel. 1. That's 2, and that's just under 44 psi on the gauge.
So here I'm just finishing up by screwing the valve core into the valve body, and then I'm going to use the proper tyre inflator that's more accurate, and I'm going to inflate the tyre to the correct PSI, which is written on the inside of the driver's door.
Cool, okay, so I've got the tyres and wheels all sorted, balanced, TPMS sensors swapped over, everything is done. I've got the rears fitted already, you can just about see. So we're going to do the front discs and pads, we're going to get the front wheels and tyres fitted, and then we can concentrate on getting that sump off, giving it a degunge, and then that's it for this part. So to do these brakes, you only really need very basic tools. They're simple enough to do discs and pads on most cars, to be honest. Some you do need some more specific tools, but in this instance, just very basic tools. So, need a screwdriver for prying this spring, anti-rattle spring off, like that. I need this 7mm, I think. Yeah, 7mm hex, a ratchet to break off the two slider pins. So the slider pins, we've got two little black plastic covers. They come off, and then it's just a 7mm Allen key. I'm going to just use the screwdriver again to push this caliper piston in a little bit, like that. Should make it nice and easy to be able to slide the brake caliper off. Get the old pad out. For now, I'm just going to rest it up here out of the way, so I'm not putting any strain on the brake pipe. What you don't want to do is put any strain on this brake pipe by just hanging it. Either cable tie it to the strut, bungee it to the strut, or just rest it on top. This back plate's pretty strong, so I'm content that it's just going to sit there quite happily. So we'll get the old pads out. So that is below 1.5mm. That's probably about there. These would have been an MOT fail in most cases, I suspect. Potentially an advisory, but it's just not worth running the risk, is it? Plus these discs aren't in great shape. There's a load of lips sort of running along. The actual disc itself is lipped. It's probably still within tolerance, but for the price of the discs, just replace them. It'd take ages for the pads to bed into a disc that is as rough as that. So it's worth just getting them changed. So there's a couple of ways that you can tackle pushing this piston in. You can get the flathead screwdriver, remount it and push the piston in that way. That isn't great. I don't recommend doing that. The way that I like to do it is by using a wind back tool. Now these kits are about 15 quid. They come with all of the tools you will ever need. It's definitely worth investing in a set if you're planning on doing brakes off. So the next thing I want to do is get this caliper carrier off. That will allow me to remove the brake disc, give it a bit of a clean, put the new brake disc on, carrier back on. I'm going to take the slider pins out like so and just give them a bit of a clean so they're back to being shiny, and I'll put a little bit of red rubber grease on them as well. And then everybody's favourite when it comes to brakes, copper slip. A bit of copper grease on the moving parts of the brake pads. Some people say to use different greases. I'm going to be using copper grease because that's what I've got and it's what I've used forever. So feel free to use whatever grease the internet tells you to use. So to loosen the carrier off, you're going to need on this an 18mm socket and a ratchet. These usually have a bit of thread lock on them. It's worth putting a little bit back on as well, because it's quite common. I have seen these come loose from people doing their own brakes a few times just because they don't tighten these up enough. You can see the thread lock on there. So it's definitely worth putting some fresh thread lock on these. So I was hoping this disc would just pull off the hub. Clearly didn't want to play ball, so I ended up having to resort to the metal handbag in order to get it off. So I'm going to swing the metal handbag and we are going to release the disc with some brute force and ignorance, because sometimes that's what's required. I don't recommend hitting a brake disc with a steel hammer, but
I couldn't be bothered finding a copper one, so this is what I did, and it worked. So let's just move past it.
So as you can see, this disc is not in great condition. Definitely glad I'm replacing that. So I'm just going to give this hub a quick clean with the drill and the wire brush. Should make fitting the new disc a lot easier. That's all that should need. So this is one of the new brake discs. It comes with a sort of corrosion resistant coating on it, just to help the disc last a little bit longer. Nice and thick, loads of meat on them. So I'm going to put them straight on. I know some mechanics say to put some copper grease on the mating surface. I think mating surfaces should be dry. That's how they came from the factory. And with this corrosion sort of resistant coating, it will help to resist some of the corrosion between the two surfaces. So next we'll get the carrier back on. We'll get this on and then we should be good to go. Cool, so I'm back. I've just been doing some prep work, ready to fit the caliper back on with the new pads. So I've wound the piston back in with the wind back tool. I have pre-greased the new pads. Now when it comes to greasing the pads, cheaper or older style brake pads don't, or certainly didn't, used to come with these anti-rattle sort of shims that sit on the back of the brake pad. So a bit of copper grease on there would help the pad sort of stick to the caliper and stick to the piston. Newer pads generally come with quite a few different ways to stop rattling or squeaking. Having this shim at the back, having both sides of the brake pad chamfered, having a dust channel cut into the pad, all helps to reduce squeaking during sort of use of the pad. So I've done that. I've cleaned up the carrier where the pad is going to be sliding against. All I need to do now really is put it all back together again. I've also put some fresh Loctite medium strength onto the carrier bolts after cleaning off the old Loctite on the wire wheel, and I have cleaned up the slider pins on the wire wheel and applied some fresh rubber safe grease onto those as well. So let's get it put back together. Cool, so that's it. Brakes are fitted. I'm just going to give them a quick spray with some degreaser just to finish off before I put the wheel back on, and then that's this side done. I'm going to do the other side. Not going to film that, it's not very exciting. And then that's going to be it for tonight, I think. It's getting a bit late. I want to call it quits. I want to be fresh for tomorrow. Pop to Euro car parts, pick the bits up that I've ordered, including some new wiper blades, because they were a bit smeary and I had finished with the jet wash, so we'll get them done as well. And let's try and get this car done, ready for some photos tomorrow afternoon, weather permitting.
If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means a lot to me to know that you're taking time out of your day to watch one of my videos. It seriously means a lot, so thank you. Please like and subscribe, and look forward to part 2. I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. I'm doing my best with this one. I know some of it isn't very exciting, but please stick with it. And again, thank you.